So thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ann Perry. I've been a numerologist for about 22 years or so. One of my biggest passions, of course, is helping you to learn more about family dynamics, relationship dynamics. I know we're kind of theming this up to talk about parenting with numerology, but overall, what I'm super passionate about is helping people to see other people and themselves in a different light. And I feel that numerology is one of the simplest things that we can apply in our day-to-day life that will help us to see people a little differently. So I'm going to be asking you to keep your audio off while we're doing the presentation. It should take about a half an hour to get through that. And then we're going to open it up for questions and answers and that sort of thing. All right, let's move on for a second here. All right, so let's get to it. So we're going to be parenting with numerology today. I'm going to be teaching you 3 things that your date of birth, your child's date of birth, can tell you about you. So why exactly is the date of birth so important to understand? So it's very simple. I mean, I've been a numerologist for 22 years, but I like to keep things really, really simple. I've been very academic in my past, but I've chosen to really look at this a little differently and to teach people the very, very basics. And you might say, well, I already know how to do a life path number. I know how to do an expression number, all that. But do you know how to interpret it? That's the thing. How do we apply it? How do we use these simple tools to apply it to our parenting? So we know that the date of birth is going to reveal a sub-lesson to be observed, okay? It can also reveal a gift that your child has chosen to bring with them. Remember, they choose their date of birth based on the lessons they want to learn prior to their incarnation. So the full birth date is going to reveal your child's life path number. This is going to give you clues as to what they may be academically well suited for, what lessons they're going to need to learn, and a general path that they're going to be traveling on. It gives us some really generalized clues. So we can steer our children into areas where they're more likely going to succeed, rather than have them suffer disappointment when they're pursuing areas that maybe they don't have as good a chance to be successful at. When we know what their gifts are, when we know what their challenges are, when we know what their talents are, we can guide them. We can help them to navigate a little bit better for a better success rate. So if you know that your child has a life path number that's really sensitive, for example, you can knowingly create a more comfortable atmosphere for them. So if you know your child has a more hyperactive life path number, okay, you can adjust their activities to accommodate this type of energy. My son is a case in point. One of my sons is a 7 life path number. So I knew that the 7 life path number, I being one as well, is somebody who really prefers to spend a lot of time by themselves. They can be social, they can be whatnot, but they need to be able to have their time out. They like to study by themselves. They love to research things by themselves. So there's no point in putting that child in a very busy, crazy atmosphere because they're not going to thrive in that, right? So if we understand the life path number of each of your children, it's going to help you not to set the expectations out of their reach. I mean, how many of us have done that where, you're doing the best you can? I think back when my oldest one, wasn't really academically inclined. He had absolutely zero interest in going to university or college after high school. And I thought, oh my God, you're going to be, working at McDonald's forever kind of thing. And if that's what he wanted to do, what was wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. But me as a parent wanted more for him. So I was imposing expectations on him that might have been a little unrealistic for him. Okay. So the life path number can tell us so much about our child's learning style, their goal setting styles, and how they generally interact with other people. Again, we can set them up for success when we know these things. If you've got a child who's been diagnosed with ADD or possibly even ADHD, understanding their life path number can really help to explain an awful lot about their diagnosis. So adjusting their environment based upon the life path number can really significantly improve their behavior, right? They just need to be, all of us need to work in environments that are conducive to our learning styles, right? But when we have this hidden information about the date of birth, it just helps us to place them in better environments, learning environments. So your child's birth date is going to reveal also a personal cycle that they're in right now. It's referred to as the epicycle. It's a 9-year cycle. And it's going to offer you clues on how to help them manage their time better and how to really embrace that unique energy of the personal year. I love this, looking at the 9-year cycle, because we only get one kick at the cat, so to speak. once every 9 years. So for example, if you happen to be in a personal year of 4, we know that the 4 is all about focus. So we want to do everything in our power to remain focused. We know that that would be a great year to tackle a course that might be a little bit more difficult than others, that's just going to be an optimum time to do it. So positioning them in the right ways for every personal year that they're in is helpful. It's also helpful to understand, what personal year are you in? What personal year is your child in? How about the father? How about the sister? How about the brother? Let's take a look at the whole family dynamic as to how everybody's operating and where they're all at within the house all at the same time. So I want to take a look at, I'll share with you my son's date of birth. This is my oldest. He told me it was totally okay to throw him under the bus. He was teasing, of course. He loves to support me in this way. So, but Jeff was born on July 13th of 1983. So what can we tell from just looking at this date of birth? So my goal, I do have a course coming up. My goal would be for you to be able to look at that date of birth and go, bam, this is what I know about this child, right? That's what I want for you. I want you to be able to assess it very quickly without having to dig too deep, without having to look at his birth name, just the date of birth. What can we tell? Well, on first glance, we see that he was born on the 13th day, okay, which exposes a karmic debt. The number 13 holds a karmic debt that he's chosen to pay back for in this lifetime. Now, understand one thing. A lot of cultures believe that karmic debt is punishment. It's not punishment, okay? It's not a punishment. It is their choice to take the opportunity to pay back for poor behavior in a previous lifetime. So that invites certain degrees of lessons related to the crime they committed, right? So as a parent, this is going to tell me that in a previous lifetime, he didn't apply himself very well. He was lazy. He was unfocused. He didn't finish what he started. He didn't pay attention to the details. I know this going in. He knows it on some cellular level. So in this lifetime, he may find himself taking on the role of a workaholic. And my goodness, he sure has, because he may feel the need to prove himself this time around, because there's always this little bit of a nagging voice that says, oh, remember you didn't quite get that last time, you got to work harder this time. Yeah, that surfaces, and it's like a little inner knowing. So he will work harder to prove himself in this lifetime. So as a parent, how can I help him through that? Well, I know that to help him pay back for a lifetime of bad behavior, I'm going to need to help him to take on a little bit more of a positive attitude towards any of the obstacles that he's facing along the way. So the 13-4 karmic debt is telling me that he will experience recurring obstacles. He will find opposition in his life, all right? So I need to help him to see the opportunity in the obstacle rather than always seeing the limitation. It's a time to recognize the importance of having a plan. So when we look at the number 13 as an example, okay, that's 2 digits. We add 1 and 3 together, it comes to 4. That's what we call a composite number. It's a code, and the code needs to be cracked, okay? So we look at the number 1. We look at the number 3. We look at the number 4. We have to dive in to see, what does that in fact mean? So in a nutshell, the 4 is the biggest of the numbers. The 4 says, I have to learn more about discipline and structure. So I need to help him change his perspective to that of a half full cup rather than the half empty cup all the time. The 13 has a tendency to wear the victim t-shirt, and that's never a good look, right? So we want to make sure that those with that number 13 at play are ones that are rising above the obstacle, to not see it as a limitation, but to see it as an opportunity. Okay? It's a good life skill to have. Now, his life path number, which I'm not going to explain how to do the calculations, that's in another program, but you need to know that his life path number is a 14-5. Okay, so once again, what's this? What is this? It's a composite number, 1, 4, and 5. So this tells me automatically right out of the gate that I'm dealing with an older soul. Why do I know that? Because he has yet another karmic debt at play. He's got the 14-5. The 13 is a karmic debt, and also the 14, and there are 2 others besides. So this reminds me that in a previous lifetime, he made some pretty poor choices, right? It cost him everything. He lost everything because he took some chances. He was likely seduced by one of his senses, right? That would feed a possible addiction towards, it could be food, drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever. It could be scratch tickets, whatever. We don't know. But the fact is that the 5 says they have an addictive tendency. But the 4 that sits to the left of the 5 says, I need structure and I need discipline and I need a plan. Okay. So he knows this on a cellular level. And so what it does is it causes him to sometimes feel a little cautious about making decisions. The 1 says, I want to do it. The 4 said, and the 5 says, I want to do it now. The 4 says, slow down, you need a plan, right? So in order for him to get along in his life, I know that the 4 is very dominant, right? So we have to work on that 4. So in the life path number, we have, as I said, the 14-5. So let's break this down so that you can understand what the 14-5 means. Because there's different ways Jeff could have been a 5. He could have been just a 5 if his numbers had added up to 5. He could have been a 23-5. He could have been a 14-5. He could have been a 50/5. The numbers to the left of the slash when they're added up are the sub lessons, okay, to the main lessons. So the sub lessons here would be the 1 and the 4 so that he can be the best 5 he can be. So the 1 says that Jeff needs to learn how to develop confidence within himself so that he can create the 4, which is that step-by-step, one step after the other focused plan so that he can have the 5, which is the freedom that he wants. The 5s are the freedom seekers. Now, somebody who is just a 5 life path number will approach things very differently because they don't have that cautionary 4 that says, slow down the bus. You screwed up last time, remember? So this time we're gonna make a plan so that you can get what you want without, being too erratic about it. So armed with this insight as a parent, I can help Jeff to avoid disappointment by helping him to come up with a strategic plan, a step-by-step plan, so he can manifest what he's looking for, that freedom that he wants. The 5s want their freedom. They don't want to be micromanaged. So once again, he has a need to stay focused. And note that the 4 is a big lesson for him because it shows up in his day of birth. He was born on the 13th day, 1 and 3 equals 4. And it also shows up in his life path number of the 14-5. 1 and 4 equal 5. So the 4 is a sub-lesson here. But what if he was a 23-5 life path number? What if we added up the numbers differently and it came up to 23-5? Different calculation methods, which I'll cover in the upcoming course, is going to produce different results, right? Potentially, not always, but quite often it'll produce different results. So why is it important to understand the sub-lessons in the life path number? Well, we want to break down the 23-5 and examine those sub-lessons. So the 2 says that Jeff would have to learn how to develop patience and partnership skills to be a team player. He's learning about his independence and the balance between himself so that he can use the 3. So the 3 is using his creative potential and social skills to be able to gain, because those are the sub-lessons, right? The sub-lessons so that he can become the best 5 he can be, so that he can gain his freedom. So you can see that the lessons between the 14-5, learning how to be a bit more independent, developing confidence, coming up with a step-by-step plan so he can have the freedom that he wants, is a very different 5 than what the 23-5 is, because these guys are learning patience and partnership skills and learning how to be a bit more independent and using their creative potential to have the 5, the freedom that they want, right? So this is what I call cracking a birth code. And once you learn the associated vibration between the numbers 1 to 9, it's just plug and play. That's all it is. It's just plug and play. But I think it's really important. And for one example would be my son, my youngest son, is a straight up 7. He doesn't have any sub-lessons. He just came in as a 7. He was born January 31st of 1991. When we add them all up, it comes up to a 7. Myself, I am a 16-7. So I have the sub-lessons to learn related to the 1 and the 6 to be the best 7 I can be. My ex-husband, 25-7. So he had the 2 and the 5 sub-lessons to become the best 7 he could be. This, guys, this is why I'm so passionate about teaching you this, because there's 3 people. All of us were 7s under one roof. And we, understanding what our lessons were helped us to navigate a little bit better. My son, who was a straight up 7, didn't have any sub-lessons. I knew that the 7 was hugely dominant in his chart, okay? But for me, the 1 and the 6, I was learning independence to learn how to be more independent, less codependent, more courageous, more of a leader, self-starter, all that. And the 6, learning that not everything is my responsibility, so I can be the best 7 I can be. So I am a 16-7, the 1-6-7. My ex-husband is the 25-7. So that right there, you see, there is a need for me to be on my own, to stand on my own 2 feet. But my ex-husband had a need for partnership because he was a 25-7, the 2, right? He also had addiction to smoking and some drinking issues, right? So the 5 brings in the addictive tendency. I didn't have that, but I had the 6, which was all about the responsibility to the home and the family. So it was a melting pot of a bunch of stuff. And you might say, well, a 7 is a 7 is a 7. It's not. What kind of a 7 are you? So when you're looking at the group dynamics in your home, you're going to be able to see what is the unique code for each person in your home. Okay, isn't that exciting? I just think this is so cool. So what else can we learn from the child's date of birth? Understanding the personal year. So every January we enter into a new personal year. Now, astrologers feel that we do this on our date of birth, go into the personal year. Numerologists believe that we start in January. So each year has a theme that we're going to be influenced by. So every January we wake up with a full cup of whatever our year is. Okay. So when we know what the child's personal year is, we can guide them accordingly. All right. So for example, in 1994, my son Jeff was in a 5 personal year. Now, what do we know about Jeff already? We know that Jeff has a life path number of 5. So when a 5 life path number goes into a 5 personal year, they're going to feel it more than somebody who's a 6 life path number or a 8 life path number, right? Whenever we're in a personal year that's the same as our life path number, it's more intense for us. Okay. So the 5 personal year is about change. It's about unexpected events. It's about expansion and an overall restless energy. Okay. So 5s want to learn things that can help them right now in their life, right now. Okay. So my son would come home from school and go, what up with algebra? I mean, what do you mean? He said, well, A plus B equals C is never going to help me buy my groceries, Mom. Why do I have to learn this stuff? And inside I'm going, you're absolutely right, right? But I knew that was also coming from the fact he's a 5 life path number, which means I know as a parent, he is an experiential learner. You cannot ask this kid to sit in a chair for 6 hours a day and not expect him to disrupt the class, right? Because that's just who he is. So that's the thing. The 5s are experiential learners, but they want to know how to apply what they're learning right now. So if they're not interested in the subject, quite often they get labeled as ADD. My son did. And it wasn't that he was ADD. He's just not interested because he can't apply it to his life right now. Over the head it goes, right? So these guys live for the moment. So teaching them about history is not going to cut it for them, right? They have no interest in that. So how can I have supported him better in his 5 personal year? Well, I would have needed to understand that a life path 5 is restless by nature. And so is the personal year of 5. It's a restless year. So suck it up, Mom. Like, it's just the way it's going to be for 12 months. Understand that the life path 5s are driven by a keen curiosity about life, right? Respect that. They do have a keen curiosity. So maybe they do become the shit disturbers in class. So what, right? That's part of who they are, right? And this is just a cycle that they're going through this 5 personal year. They bore more easily than others. Reducing his homework. This is something I really missed the mark on. If I had reduced his homework to smaller bite-sized chunks, sort of balancing it more with other activities in between, rather than, sitting him down and tearing the bandage off every day, that could have gone better for him. Maybe encouraging him to be outside a little bit more, run off that energy. He just sat in a chair all day for 6 hours. Okay. Now you're coming home and you got to do your homework. He's got to sit there for another 2 hours. That is not conducive to a 5. So balancing his study time with a bit of fun time, maybe a little bit of a reward in between would be good. Offering him a variety of experiential things to do can help, right? They learn by doing, the 5s do. Respecting whether his personal year is in harmony or conflict with the rest of the family. Okay, so if he's in a 5 personal year that says, I just want to go, let's make it happen, let's go, let's have an experience. And say dad is in a 4 personal year, dad wants structure, he wants routine, he wants results, he wants the plan, he wants to follow the rules, he wants to stay in his box. You already know that is not going to be the best lineup. So what do you do to compromise? How can we compromise? How can we give dad a little bit of time that helps him to feel safe in his year of 4, at the same time as giving Jeff his time to be experiential in his year of 5, right? So you can see that understanding that 9-year cycle of putting everybody into the mix, which is what I want to teach you guys, is really, really going to be very important. So in summary, the 3 things that your child's birth date can tell you, it's going to reveal your child's life path number, which illuminates his unique path and lessons that they've chosen for themselves. Okay, they chose the sub lessons based on what their previous lifetime experiences were. It's very unique to them. It also reveals any karmic debts that they may have chosen to overcome in this lifetime. The day of birth, the actual day they were born on, gives us another sub lesson to look at, and potentially a talent that your child has that might not even know about. And the date of birth will help you to recognize which personal year your child is in. So is this personal year in harmony, or is it in conflict with your family dynamics? Okay, so we're not just going to be looking at just the child. Okay, this is about looking at everybody in a different light. You can apply all of these principles in your workplace with your work family or your extended family or your neighbors or whoever you want to apply this to. So if you're ready, you want to learn a little bit more, I am teaching a parenting with numerology class. It's a master class. I've made it available 2 different dates. We're going to be doing this on Saturday, May 6th, or you can do it on Sunday, May 7th, same class either day, at 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be 2.5 hours. And we're going to be looking at how to calculate and decode your child's unique birth code. Like I said, most of you probably know how to do the life path number. It's easy. There's not big science to that. But I want you to understand the sub lessons. Nobody teaches it like this, right? So I want you to understand the sub lessons and really crack the code. It is not enough to say that your child is a 5 or a 6. What did they choose to learn to become the best 5 or 6 they can be? So you're going to be seeing your child in a different light, their own unique light. You'll be setting up your children for success. Absolutely. Understanding your unique family dynamics. Man, I wish I'd known this when I was raising my kids. So you're going to be supporting your child's journey like a birthday boss, creating harmony within your home. Everybody wins when you see each other with clarity, relaxing with a new, simple skill set, which is really designed to take the guesswork out of parenting. That should have been included in all our prenatal classes. So what's included? 2.5 hours live Zoom class, recording after the event, of course, that you can have, PDF handouts to support the learning, family dynamics templates to fill in. And I've got an Eager Beaver special. It's not an early bird special. It's an Eager Beaver special because we wanted to make this unique. So you save $32 off the regular price of $129 for the first 20 people who sign up. So it's only $97 for the course. So in that, this basically in my mind is probably less than what it takes to take your kids to the movies. Last time I checked, popcorn's expensive. So, I want you to imagine just how your family dynamics overall could be when you know how to apply the simple skill set. So I really encourage you to consider planning to parent with numerology. This works really, really well, especially in divorce situations, split families. It's so common now. Helping you to understand your ex a little differently so that you can navigate co-parenting a little easier too. So you can sign up for the course on my website. The link is there. I can place the link in the chat box too if you like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful to you. Now I want to open it up to some questions and answers. So give me 1 second. And we're back. All right. Anybody have any ideas or thoughts or want to talk about maybe their child? If you want to look at a date of birth, you're welcome to raise your hand and I'll open it up so you can ask your questions. Well, go ahead, Tian. Yeah, absolutely, of course.
Would you mind look at my son's birthday numbers?
Sure, absolutely.
Suggestion.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So his birthday is it's November 29th in 2008.
2008. Wow.
So it seems he has 211 master numbers in his date.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So if I was looking at that date of birth, we're looking at November 29th of 2008. So we know that November is a master number 11, so we're not going to reduce that. We know that, thanks, Joy. I'm glad you're here. So we know that the 29th, 2 and 9, we add that together. It comes up to another 11, okay? So we bring that down as an 11, and then we have 2008, which adds up to 10, and then 1 plus 0 equals 1. So then we come across, and we add 11 plus 1 comes to 23.5. So interesting that you chose to join us today and that I used the example of the 23.5 because, did that speak to you on some level? Yeah, you found it did?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome to leave on mic for a sec. So the 29th day, that gives us a couple of clues. It does reduce to an 11, but the 2 and the 9 are significant here, okay? Because the 2 says I'm learning patience, I'm learning how to be diplomatic, I'm learning how to play nice in the sandbox, how to become a team player. But the 9 says, I want to make a significant contribution to humanity. He's very empathic. The 9 is very much the empath. He's very sensitive. He's very intuitive. So if I was his parent, I would probably be trying to encourage him to look at something to do with supporting humanity on some level. You know, he's somebody who really requires, needs to understand that not everything is his fault. He can't fix everything, right? He has that inclination to want to fix everything. He's extremely sensitive, very, very intuitive, might be a little on the clingy side, difficult for him to be independent. So he's learning how to be independent, but he's also at the same time learning how to be interdependent. Okay. So he's born on the 29th. There's a 2 in there, and he was born with a 23.5 life path number. There's another 2 in there. So does he have difficulty kind of with the whole group dynamic? Does he kind of wonder where he fits?
Yeah, I heard him complaining when doing group projects. He would complain that he's the only person who do the work. Others, it's free riders. And also he prefer playing tennis rather than football or basketball. So he's more like an independent person.
Yeah, I like that. That's good that you observed that too. And I understand that. You know, the only sport I ever really enjoyed doing was riding, horseback riding, because it was just me and the horse, right? I didn't have to deal with everybody else. But it is interesting. He's got that dynamic 2 in there because the 2 also says I have a need to belong. I need to fit in. But maybe he has a little bit of a need for control as well. What's his first name? Do you mind sharing that?
Because we are Chinese.
Yes.
Do you want his Chinese legal name rather than nickname?
Whatever it showed up on his birth certificate. What would his first name have shown up?
So his first legal name, his first name is Y-U-R-U-I.
Y-U-R-U-I?
Yes. Yuri.
Yeah, see, okay, so there's 9, 10, 16, 7. So 7 and 3 and 9 and 3 and 1, 10, 13, 16, 21, 3. Does he like to write?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a good writer.
Yeah.
I can tell that because he's actually intended to learn how to express himself even better. Was English his first language or Chinese?
English.
English was, okay. And does he speak Chinese too?
Yes.
Yeah, he would have a command on that, I feel. So he's got his first name, what we call a growth number. When we add that up, it comes up to a 3. So he's intended to grow into his creative potential. So anything he can do to express himself would be great, to write, to blog, to journal, even photography or things like that. The creative expressive arts would be really excellent for him. But when we look at what we call the cornerstone and the capstone, which is the Y and the I, that comes up as a 7. It actually comes up as a 16-7, which again brings in the need to communicate. 16-7 brings in a karmic influence. Everything's a karmic influence, really, when it comes to numerology. But this brings in a karmic influence that says, I have to speak my truth. I have to communicate a little bit better. I have to work a little harder to communicate because there's an issue of trust here. And that comes from a previous lifetime. And that issue related to trust says, I I didn't explain myself very well. I did things that caught people off guard. I disappointed people. I betrayed people in a previous lifetime, and that caused them not to trust me. So because this has come back as a karmic influence, it's asking him to work harder to communicate rather than thinking, because he's a thinker, right? He's really internal. So he thinks and he thinks and he thinks. And when he's done thinking, he's going to think some more, right? But he fails to realize that what he's thinking about, we know nothing about it. And then he goes and does something or makes a decision, and it kind of blows the world up. And it's like, wow, I didn't know you felt that way. I had no idea. I thought I knew you, and now I'm not sure I know you. So if I don't know you, I'm not sure I can trust you, right? So you can see how important it is for him to express himself as best he can. It's not good for him to keep it all in. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
He definitely has some difficulty expressing himself, especially with strong emotions.
Yes.
So when he was really mad, angry, or frustrated, he refused to communicate with me. He refused to communicate, express his feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do with that.
Well, do you know what your life path number is?
I think it's 8.
I just knew it.
I'm a dominating mother.
Intuitively, I felt you were an 8. Yeah. So my personality number is an 8, so I get the 8s, right? But the 8 is a big personality. Okay. And you're an even number. The 8's an even number. Well, your son is a 5. That's an odd number. So you guys are kind of like this. I mean, that's what it is. You see it a certain way. He sees it a different way. So again, it's understanding his lessons, your lessons, and how do we compromise there, right? Yours is a big energy, which can be a bit of a threat to him, because to you, it's, and with all due respect to your culture as well, I know that, in the Chinese culture, it's very important to have the education, and it's very important to do well and to be successful. And the competition in China alone for the jobs is so difficult, right? So it's a natural thing for a Chinese parent to expect more from their children. Okay. But he's a 5 and he needs his freedom. And I think what you've got to do is to be able to step back from that and allow him to figure it out. Trust that he's got this. I so understand it, because my son being the 5 and having no interest in going on to post-secondary education was very scary for me as a parent. You're going to be pumping gas for your whole life. Like, things are expensive, and, you got to make something of yourself. He turns 40 this year. And I believe by the end of this summer, he will be a millionaire. And he never went to post-secondary, but 5s are intended to be self-employed and make it on their own. So if your son says, I don't want the academics, don't worry about it. He's going to be okay.
He's doing really well academically. He's a very strong student, and he aspired to be a professor.
Perfect. Excellent. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And I imagine he'll teach something that's really fun.
He's to be in engineering. He says he wants to be a professor in engineering.
I love that. That's amazing. That's so good. So it'd be interesting. Again, we're just looking at his date of birth. We're not looking at his expression number that comes from his full name on his birth certificate. We're not looking at anything else. So there's so many other clues when we start digging into the chart. But the program that I've got coming up is going to be very interesting, because we are going to bringing in all of your group dynamics, all your family dynamics, to take a look at who everybody is. So I hope that you'll consider joining that, because I think you'll really enjoy the whole dynamics.
Thank you very much, Anne, for
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Liz or Susan or iPhone person? I don't know who that. Oh. There you go.
Hi. I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it is, but right now I'm pregnant.
Yay, congrats.
With multiples. Thank you so much.
Multiples.
And I know.
Wow.
And I know. And
it's in the water.
I'm an 8 life path.
Okay.
I'm very type A right now. I'm type A, period. Okay. And I'm just thinking about their personal year, because I'm just like, I know babies come when they want, but also I don't want them to be Geminis, because I don't want drama in my life. So I'm just thinking about their personal year and how that 23, that I think it's a 7 year, is it? Yeah. how that 7 is going to affect them. But also, I don't know when their birthday will be. Will they
Right.
all have the same life path number? Will be born different days? And it's just like the numbers are really making my mind whirl. So have you had experience with multiples or twins that
Yeah.
have different life path numbers and different numerology?
Yeah.
That's a
So,
question.
okay. That's an awesome question. I love that. Are we talking twins or triplets here?
Quad.
Okay, this is the first. Quad. Go big or stay home, girlfriend. Quad.
Well,
wow.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so may the force be with you. Holy smokes. All right. So there is a chance that you'll go into labor, let's say at 11 o'clock on a Monday night. Okay. And you deliver the first one at 11 o'clock. And then you deliver the second one at 1 in the morning. Okay. Well, they're going to have different life path numbers. So right out of the gate, we know there's something different there. But if that doesn't happen, let's say you go into labor in the morning and you have all 4 of them, assuming you may have go by section. Is that the plan?
There's no plan. I was pregnant for many months and had no idea. And I'm 8 months right now, and I found out on New Year's Eve that I was pregnant.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So
wow,
it's a lot.
It is a lot, no question, man. Okay, so with the neat thing about numerology is that yes, we have life path numbers. They are based upon when we are choosing to be born, right? That's where our lessons and whatnot come from. And then we look at the name on the birth certificate. So the name on the birth certificate produces what's called an essence. Now, if let's say you and I, Liz, you and I are both in a 5 personal year. Okay, a 5 personal year is going to bring in change, unexpected events. Didn't see that coming. A lot of expansion, that sort of thing, right? A 5 is a 5 is a 5. The years go from 1 to 9, and each one of them holds a theme, and each theme is going to produce something different, or it's something similar for each other. Now, when we add our birth name to the mix, that creates the essence. Our birth name will tell us how is Liz going to go through that personal year differently than Anne will. Your birth name is different than mine. That's going to produce a different essence. Okay. So that will bring in an entirely different experience. Now, this is not something I'm going to teach in this course coming up because it's a big subject, right? I do teach it in my Clarity Seekers community. If anybody's interested in learning this, it's in the community we teach it. But the birth name has a huge influence over how your children, yourself, are going to go through that personal year. Okay, so therein lies quite a difference right there. The birth name is going to create the expression number. The expression number creates different talents and gifts that they've chosen to bring with them that will support them on their journey as a life path number, whatever they're going to be. Now, you might question about the names. I get all these people writing to me saying, oh, I got to know what to name my child. I'm like, relax, right? Whatever you name your child is what your child has agreed upon in terms of a vibration. The theory is that prior to the birth, the child gives consideration to what the life path number is going to be. The next thing they do is they give consideration to what is the vibration, what is the number related to their birth name? What does that need to be? So they send forth a message telepathically to whomever names them in this lifetime. And they say, hey, I don't care what you call me. You can call me whatever you want. But you have to make sure that whatever you call me, I will vibrate at the vibration of the number 4. Okay. Because I need the 4 to support me on my journey. Okay. So when your child is born, you might look at that child and go, wow, I thought I was going to name that child Michael, but he doesn't look like a Michael. It's not because he doesn't look like a Michael. He doesn't feel like a Michael. And so you name the child according to the way that they feel. Okay. Sometimes that never changes. Sometimes you just say, hey, that's what this one's going to be called, and that's it. But sometimes there is a definite, feeling associated with that child. Does that make sense?
Yes, it definitely makes sense. A lot of sense.
So don't worry that you're going to have a whole bunch of, whatever. Like my life path numbers may all be the same for sure. There's a good chance that that'll happen. But the birth names will give you an entirely different experience altogether.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Arita Meek is in the building.
What's up, girl?
I don't know. What's up with you? Good to see you. I didn't recognize you with the sunglasses on.
Yeah, I was driving to work. I'm sitting in the office on my car.
Oh, good. Cool. And so any thoughts, any questions, any nuggets you want to add?
Dude, you know, my son is a 33, born on a 22 day with a 9 destiny. And he's got a 3 soul urge, and this kid never shuts up. He's got sounds coming out of him all the time. I want to be like, Grayson, stop. But I don't want to like make a shadow for him, right? Because I know that he's supposed to be like so expressive, and I want him to be that way. Oh man.
Well, but, you know what? You're a musician, so he's going to come by that honestly, right? To express himself.
Yeah. Is that pregnant lady still on? I don't know what her name was. Is it Liz?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here, and God bless you for a talkative baby.
For what?
With your talkative baby. I have a sister that never shuts up as well.
Yeah. He's 3.5 now, but so he'll be 4 on August 22nd. So, but I wanted to say to you, Liz, actually, Anne helped me out when I was pregnant too, because I don't know if you remember, but I was kind of freaking out too, like about what to name him. Like everything that I added up his name to came to some kind of karmic number, and I was like, ugh. But she's like, you know what? He's going to be born when he's going to be born. And he was 10 days early, and like I said, he's a 33 and he was born on a 22. He was born at 119, which even adds up to an 11. You know, like he knew, they know what they're coming in to do. It just like, you just have to love and honor whatever they're chosen to do, and understand Jim and I are not, it's like dog breeds, right? Pit bulls can be angry if you teach them that way, or they can be, your babies are going to be what they're going to be. And just like my son is what he is, which one minute he's just like got sounds coming out of him, but the next minute he's like putting his hands on my head and trying to heal me when I have a headache, and he's meditating. And you know, they're going to have strengths and weaknesses, just like we have strengths and weaknesses, but they're going to be like, if I could go back, I just wouldn't have worried so much. Anne was kind of like, just chill, like it's gonna be fine. And he was. So trust her.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's really good advice, Arita. I mean, and that's the truth. The theory is, and oh gosh, I could go on and on about this, but the theory is that we do choose our parents. Okay. And as bizarre as that might sound, because I questioned that for a very long time. So I get that concept, but why did I choose mine again? Right. So I had to really struggle with that whole concept, but we choose our parents based upon what it is we need to learn from one another. There's contracts that exist, and we don't know what it is, and that comes down to trust, right? We really have to trust in the whole process. So our kids, I learned more from my kids than I think I've ever been able to teach them. So
I mean, you know, I know I'm a life path 4, so I know about picking parents.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you bring up a good point too, Arita, because your life path number is a 4, which says you kind of like the structure, you like the knowing what's going on, you like the security and all that kind of stuff. And your son, you know, he's a 33-6. His 6 says, I want to be, especially to his mother, because boys who are 6s have a tendency to be very close to their moms. They have a huge responsibility to mom. So, you know, he chose you for a reason. He's going to teach you how to chill out. He's going to, you've got more of a disciplined approach than what he does. And you're going to be able to teach him the importance of having a plan. So there's all kinds of cool stuff in that. So good for you. He's like, he chose you.
You know what's funny though is that my daughter's a 6 too. She's not a 33, but she's a 6 also, and so I don't think I quite learned it with her, but I am with him. I am learning with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm learning to calm down and not be. You know how I've come a long ways with my 4. I really have.
Absolutely, you have. No question. It's a lot of years that we've known each other, and you definitely have come a long way. So, you are a wonderful example of resilience to your children. So
thank you.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
It's worth it. You're worth it.
You know, it's cool being a parent. I don't know if Liz is still here, but you know, when you feel all the time like you're failing your kids. And you have to understand that even those areas that you fall short, they chose that more than they chose probably the good things. That's what I've really come to find, because my mom just passed last year after, you know, growing up with narcotic abuse and different husbands and guys and lots of abuse. And, you know, I took care of her until she passed. And what I realized is that I learned more from that. I literally work for a nonprofit. I do case management and counseling for an addiction recovery nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it. And I love showing that compassion, and I wouldn't have it if I didn't grow up with what I did.
Well, the theory, you know, I struggled with the whole concept that I had chosen my dad because my dad was a really heavy alcoholic who really wanted nothing to do with the kids. He was a great guy, very sensitive, very, very sweet person, but he just didn't want to connect with us. He was very broken. And I learned through Akashic record readings and a psychic mediumship reading that I asked him to be that. And for me, that was very liberating. So that's something for you guys to think about. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but something for you guys to think about is that not only did you choose your parents, but your children chose you. And as tough as it gets at times, there is a reason why you're going through it. And don't think for one second that it's all about you teaching them something, right? Because a lot of the time it has to do with them teaching you something. So thanks for that, Arita. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. You too. I'm glad you tuned in. Anyone else? iPhone Shannon. Do you have any questions or want to say hi?
I can say hello. I'm new to all of this stuff, so I'm just starting to learn. And when I hear things that I can learn from, I kind of tune in. I have 4 biological children, 2 stepchildren, and a extra daughter through guardianship. And I just, my last 2 that are home are teenagers. The rest are adults. And these last 2 are my biggest challenges. So if I can find something to understand them a little bit differently or better, I'm okay with that, because these 2 are just, they broke the mold. And
they're pushing.
I'm learning. No, there's mental illness that I'm dealing with both of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trauma with both of them. Both of them have lost a parent. And my extra daughter lost her mother to a house fire after she was taken from the home. And then my 17-year-old daughter lost her dad. He overdosed the day before her 15th birthday and died 12 days later. So there's a lot of tragedy in our lives. But I am offering so much goodness and light to both of these girls. And I know that they're starting to heal since I've started at that I realized I was giving too much of myself.
Good for you. Yeah.
And I see them just growing, just in the last 4 months, just growing so much. And this is just another way to look at who they are, what their design is, to just have a better understanding of how I can support them.
Oh, I love that.
In a healthier way.
Yeah. But it sounds to me like you've done your own inner work too, which that's kind of where it's at. We've got to do our own personal work before we can actually really be helpful. We really get this ass backwards. We should have kids when we're like 70.
Yeah, right on.
And work on that kind of thing. But anyways, it's a learning curve for all of us. But
yeah, so I'm here to listen today because I don't know anything about the numbers and all of those things. I've been listening a lot to different things. I haven't done my studies yet to get my fingers or my toes wet. And
that's okay.
I'm along here today to start this, and
Perfect.
I want to learn about the astrology and the numbers and those kind of things, because I do see how everything's connected.
Yeah, I feel that about you as well. Well, we've got the course coming up on the 6th and or the 7th, so you'll get an email on it to tell you a little bit more about it. But I hope you consider joining us there. And if not there, I didn't really mention to you guys, I have the Clarity Seekers community. You can find it on my website. The Clarity Seekers community is a membership. And I teach numerology in there, and we have open discussions about numerology, and you can bring in your kids' dates of birth and we'll examine them and talk about them. All kinds of opportunities to connect in there too. So it's another option. Of course, I do readings too, but anyway, it just might be nice to connect, to help you to connect the dots to all your
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, lots of them.
Well, well, what's really funny is that's what I realized. I mean, this is my second spiritual awakening in my life.
Good for you.
The first one was when I sought Al-Anon because I was in a relationship that was addictive, and I didn't know what was going on in my life. And when he told me all the things, I knew how sick I had become and I needed help.
Right.
And it was beautiful to see now how I learned how to have a relationship with my own understanding of my higher power through that program. And now it's like I can read things, literature and different things from that program that just have a whole new meaning now that I've had my second awakening.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to recognize how those dots are. And I figured out that I was I started exploring the five senses because I realized I was on sensory overload.
Yeah. Fight or flight.
And it was I have my youngest biological daughter has ADHD and autism and all different kinds of things, and I've actually been connecting the dots wonderfully with her. I found 2 genes that are mutated that have explanations of everything that's going on with her, and all of these things have been a work in progress, but it's like I have even more of a deeper understanding of her now. And I'm still having to think outside of the box to get more answers, but it's just really, really cool how everything's coming together. But I was led to a podcast called The Psychic Story, and that's where I learned about you. Oh. And as I was reading or listening to these, then I realized that I have intuitive abilities. And along that journey, it's just starting to just honor and embrace myself we're all looking for love and acceptance. And 100%. We need to find that within ourselves first.
Yeah.
Because everybody's searching for it externally instead of internally.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah. So right. I love that.
So that's just
the best.
It is
the best realization. It is. That's the best thing you can ever learn, is that everything you need is in here and not out there. That's when the whole shift comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And dude, it's just
get a reading with Anne. Get a reading with Anne. I'm telling you, do it. Get a reading with her. She will tell you. You'll get to keep the recording. She'll send you if you're still doing the reports and stuff. So she'll send you the reports that have like the upcoming year. You will learn yourself in a whole new way. Like meeting Anne was a transitional period of my whole life. And she knows I do numerology now too. Like I totally, like, when you're made for it, you're made for it. And you should definitely start with the reading, because that's the best thing. You want to learn Reiki, then have it done to you. You want to do this type of stuff and understand it, have it done for you. And she is the best. She will take her time with you. She's an incredible person. She really is. You should definitely do a reading with her. It changed my life. And we get together probably at least once a year and do a reading still. Even though I'm a numerologist now, I still go to her for everything.
That makes sense. And I know that numbers are definitely my thing. They always have been. So I know that internally, I know that this is the path I need to go.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah. So thank you for the opportunities. I appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you too, Shannon.
Thank you.
I do hope that you'll consider joining us for some of the classes, because it's just too much fun. It's just too much fun. I like so I
like playing these kind of games. They make sense to me. So
awesome.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
So thank you for having me.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Anyone else? Ina, do you have anything you'd like to add? I'm not sure she can hear me. Or Susan? Anybody else we haven't heard from that needs to maybe talk something through about their kids, or are we good for today? All right. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. This is something I am so incredibly passionate about. It's helping everyone to see everyone else in a different light. It's so simple. It takes a little bit of time to understand the vibrations of the numbers from 1 to 9, but I'm going to give you all that you need to do that. You can check out, actually, Shannon, you may want to check out my video on YouTube called something about, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's exploring the numerology to your disease. Okay, in your disease. So we would talk about things like autism and ADD and ADHD and whatnot. You may want to, a second, find it. I have a book. There it is. This one. Check this one out. This is called Numerology for Healing by Michael Brill. So anybody who's dealing with any illnesses and weird stuff going on in their families, I really, really encourage you to check this one out. Michael actually breaks down the numerological connection to the state of dis-ease. Okay. And it'll completely blow your mind. So check that out.
Thank you.
It's all right. And I know that's totally okay. I'm so glad that you want to explore more. I hope that that book was helpful to you too. That's fantastic. So looking forward to seeing you guys in the class coming up. And if the class doesn't work for you, I hope that you'll consider looking at the Clarity Seekers community. Lots of opportunity in there to learn. We've got Oracle shares where you can bring in your Oracle cards and we share time honing in on our intuitive abilities there. We teach numerology. I've got a coach in there regularly that's coaching us. It's $22 a month and you can cancel whenever you like. So there's no reason why anybody can't join this. It's a really, really good opportunity. So I hope that you'll look at that. So for now, I'm going to say thank you. And hopefully this has been helpful to you and that you are going to be creating your best day ever. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Bye, Anne.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.